Hi, everybody. Welcome to The Path Ahead. I am Natha Perkins of Electra Astrology. I'm here to talk about the astrology of the week, and we are looking at December 16th through the 22nd. So we have a big week. We are quickly approaching the darkest day of the year if you are in the Northern Hemisphere. And of course, the opposite is true if you're in the Southern Hemisphere. And these solstices are always a big deal. So we are going to get into that. But before we do, if you have missed my talk on Pallas Athena, we've started a new asteroid in the asteroid series this week, and we are talking about Pallas Athena and that intelligent, creative, wise warrior that is within you, and the importance of being able to tap into that wisdom when you need it without needing to lose your you-know-what like Mars would. And I did a Mars retrograde teaching. Make sure to catch that. I posted it a few days ago where I'm talking about reconnecting with some actual feelings, not just being angry. So there's a theme here. Can you tell? If you like my style and you want to book with me privately, I do have a few readings left in 2024. It's a great time to recap the year and get a sense of what 2025 is going to bring you, because we're in the midst of it. Like, we are in the full transformation, and it's very hard to understand. It's hard for everybody to understand, but that's why you have a natal chart, and that will give you some great clues into what exactly you're supposed to be doing, why you feel like this, and where it's all heading. So you can book with me at electraastrology.com, and let's get started. So we are beginning the week. We've just gone through a full moon in the sign of Gemini, making a square to Neptune and a quincunx to Uranus. So think about how this last weekend in particular felt for you. What were the themes that were coming up, especially as it related to your mind and your communication and the way that you think about things? Because we're going through major communication changes. We are almost at the end of Sagittarius season. And when the sun is in the sign of Sagittarius, we're looking at everything that we think we know. And if you listen to my talk on Pallas Athena, Zeus was her father, and that is also Jupiter. Jupiter is the ruler of Sagittarius, and Jupiter can feel like it's the god, right? Zeus was the god of the heavens, and our own internal Sagittarius, we can also sometimes feel like we are God in terms of we know it all. What we have learned is the end all be all truth, and we are willing to go to the ends of the earth to make sure that everybody knows it. And a full moon in Gemini combined with a square to Neptune and Mercury in Sagittarius retrograde, like, we are being challenged by what do you really believe? And you don't have to look that far. You can look at the news and all of this stuff around aliens, and there's some weird stuff going on, and we are being challenged. What do you believe? What were you taught? Is that still true? And I'll say it probably is not still true. A lot of the information at this point is very outdated. And I think that as Neptune gets closer and closer to the sign of Aries, as it is doing over these next few months, that we're going to start to see things for what they truly are, not what we think they are. And so this is really good practice as we're moving through this last weekend into this week. Mercury stations direct on Monday, the 16th. And this should hopefully release us from some of the complicated energy that this Mercury in retrograde brought. And by complicated energy, I just mean, if things were feeling slow and computers were being wonky and you weren't able to make appointments and everything just felt like it was out of whack, Mercury retrogrades do that, but they do that because it's meant to throw you off of your game so that you do have to question, so that you do have to slow down. So we're in the thick of our brains having to work in different ways. So embrace it, don't fight it. Then we move to the 18th and we see the sun making a square to Jupiter. This is more of that crazy energy. The sun is who you are. The sun is your heart. We talked about this in the Mars retrograde teaching. Sun is your heart. and what makes you feel joyous and connected. Most importantly, connected. And when it is in square to Neptune, there can be questions about that connection. Neptune on a bad day feels alone and lonely and is looking out and saying, it's got to be better out there than it is in here. So take your opportunity this week, if you are feeling lonely and disconnected, to tune into your heart and connect with yourself. With the sun, it's less about connecting with other people. I mean, that is nice. And of course, we love to be seen and appreciated by other people. But the true connection, the first connection, the foundational connection needs to be with ourselves. Now, on a good day, Neptune is about that connection to source energy and our creativity. And when we connect in with our own heart, we are by proxy connecting in with our source connection, our higher self. And that is where this beautiful sense of peace resides, where we just know it's all going to be okay. It all is okay, regardless of what's here. Even if what's here feels imperfect or boring or scary, that it is all okay because we are one with our source connection. So, some ideas to play around with this week. On the 19th, we have Venus in Aquarius at 14, making a trine to Jupiter in retrograde at 14. Venus in Aquarius can be a hands-off Venus. If Venus is about our values and the things that we find pleasurable and desirable, Venus in Aquarius is taking the intellectual view of those things. Venus in Aquarius wants space to be able to figure out what those things even are. And of course, Venus in Aquarius is still all about relationship, making a trine to Jupiter. Jupiter's in retrograde, and Jupiter in retrograde is asking us to better understand what we are still believing. Jupiter is where we zoom out and we look at the bigger picture. And so we're looking at the bigger picture of what it is that we want to feel connected with, what we actually value, especially in terms of our relationships. And you might notice that sometimes you're going to have a belief that contradicts what another person's belief is, somebody that you know and love. And this is a time to work on just loving one another no matter what, being able to tolerate one another's differences. We always talk about that in the sign of Aquarius. Pluto is there now, Ceres is there. If you missed my Ceres talks, I just did 4 of them where we're talking about the importance of nurturing yourself. As Ceres is in Aquarius, this is like we're nurturing ourselves regardless of who we're surrounded with, regardless of who is triggering us or of who we love. Now, speaking of Ceres, on December 20th, Ceres makes an opposition to Mars in retrograde. Because Ceres so closely relates to the things that we need in order to feel like we are nourished and nurtured, you might have some anger that's cropping up. And frankly, you might have anger that's cropping up through this entire Mars retrograde, because that's what Mars in retrograde is doing. It's showing us where we are disconnected with our own heart and where we may be feeling some very deep emotions that anger is covering. So this is a good week to notice when you're feeling that angst or that physical sensation of annoyance or frustration or what have you in the body, that this is your mindfulness bell, ding, ding, to help you deepen in to understand what's really there. Like I've talked about in many episodes, usually what we find underneath anger is abandonment issues or heartbreak or fear. So if you are feeling the anger in the body, deepen into it, figure out what it really is so that you can actually solve the real problem. Now, finally, on the 21st, we have the sun entering Capricorn. I am putting out a Sagittarius to Capricorn talk. These are the edited talks that I've pulled from 2024's Star Narratives Season 5 episodes, where I've gone through every single sun sign. The Sagittarius to Capricorn one will be released this Thursday on YouTube. Powerful energetic shift. And not only that, this marks our solstice, where in the Northern Hemisphere, we are the darkest. And in the southern hemisphere, you are lightest. And this has implications for us. Every time that the sun moves into one of these cardinal angles, we either have a solstice or an equinox. And these are very potent times. All through history, the pagans celebrated these times because they mark some very important things that are going on in the world, in nature, and in ourselves on an internal level. In the case of the winter solstice in the northern hemisphere, this is a time to be internal. This marks the beginning of winter where we go dark, we slow down, we must support ourselves through the darkest, coldest months. And so that we can emerge at the spring equinox, which is when the sun moves into Aries, we can emerge with vibrancy, knowing where we are headed. And of course, if you are in the southern hemisphere, this is your summer solstice, where you have the most light, you have the most availability to look around your life and say, what is here? What am I using? Am I using all of the resources available to me? So potent time, and I would suggest on the 21st to spend some time in communion with your higher self, with your journal, with your angel or oracle cards, if you use those things, and seek to understand what the messages are for you this time. What is it that this archetype of Capricorn that is ruled by Saturn, that is relating to your morals, your integrity, your body of work, your success, your inner critic? What are you doing with that energy? And are you using it to the best advantage possible? I wish you a very happy solstice. This is a time of celebration, and there's a lot of information coming through. So pause and create some reverence. This is a time on Earth where we are learning to slow down and not give so much of our attention to things that are media related, social media, mainstream media, screens, emails, texts, etc. This is a time to tune back in with nature, with your higher self, and commune with what's there. All right, I hope that this was helpful, and I will see you all soon.